They say with age comes wisdom, but no one talks about how age also brings questions, especially about intimacy. What if I told you that one of the most misunderstood but essential parts of your well-being in your 70s or 80s is your relationship with your own body? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you may look at your health, pleasure, and aging in a whole new light. As we grow older, our bodies change, but that doesn't mean our need for connection, touch, or pleasure disappears. In fact, sexuality after 70 isn't just alive, it's essential to your emotional, psychological, and even physical health. Intimacy, even when shared with oneself through masturbation, plays a crucial role in reducing stress, improving sleep, and maintaining hormonal balance. Yet despite these benefits, this topic remains taboo, especially among seniors. Society has told us to quietly age out of desire, but I'm here to challenge that. Drawing from my 30 years as a doctor specializing in geriatric health and psychology, I'll walk you through 8 critical truths about masturbation and aging that most people won't dare say out loud. This isn't just about biology. It's about dignity. It's about breaking the silence. And it's about empowering you to age with confidence, curiosity, and joy. So let's begin. Number 1. Your body changes, but so can your pleasure. As we age, our bodies naturally go through a series of transformations, some expected, some surprising. For both men and women, hormonal shifts after 60 can lead to changes in libido, arousal, and overall sexual responsiveness. For men, a drop in testosterone may mean longer arousal times or difficulties maintaining an erection. For women, decreased estrogen often causes vaginal dryness or sensitivity that wasn't present before. But here's the important truth. These changes don't signal the end of intimacy. They signal a new chapter in how pleasure is experienced. I'll never forget a conversation with George, one of my longtime patients. At 78, he confided, "I thought I was broken until I stopped comparing myself to my 40-year-old self." That moment stuck with me. The pressure to perform or feel exactly as we did decades ago robs us of the opportunity to explore what feels good now. George eventually discovered a new kind of connection with his partner, less rushed, more mindful, and deeply emotional. Aging doesn't close the door on sexuality. It simply invites us to walk through a different one. Physical changes like decreased muscle tone, reduced circulation, or less sensitive skin are real, but so are the solutions. Pelvic floor exercises, for example, can dramatically improve sexual function and confidence for both genders. Lubricants and moisturizers can ease discomfort and increase pleasure. And above all, the power of slow, intentional touch, holding, caressing, gentle massage, can reignite that deep spark that many think is lost forever. It breaks my heart how many seniors walk into my office whispering, "I think I'm done with intimacy." They look at me with sadness, sometimes even shame, believing that pleasure is something that belongs only to the young. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You are not broken. You are not done. You are evolving. You don't need to chase who you were at 40. That person had their time. Today's version of you, wise, experienced, emotionally attuned, deserves a kind of pleasure that's just as valid, even more profound. You may need new techniques, a slower pace, a deeper emotional connection, but none of that is less. It's simply different. And in many ways, it's better. Because when you let go of the pressure to perform and embrace the beauty of presence, pleasure becomes not just possible, it becomes powerful. Number 2, know the health risks without fear-mongering. Is masturbation dangerous after 70? For the majority of seniors, the answer is a reassuring no. Masturbation remains a safe, natural, and even beneficial form of self-care well into the later decades of life. However, it's also important to acknowledge that as we age, our bodies go through significant changes. Pre-existing health conditions such as high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, arthritis, or prostate issues can influence how we experience sexual activity, including solo intimacy. But that doesn't mean seniors should avoid it altogether. It just means being more mindful. Take high blood pressure or heart disease, for example. Sexual arousal and climax naturally elevate heart rate and blood pressure for a short period, which is typically not harmful. But if you're already living with a heart condition, it's wise to understand your limits. A racing heart, Dizziness or shortness of breath during or after masturbation might be a signal that your body is asking for gentler handling, not abstinence. It's not about fear, it's about awareness. Doctor's tip: always listen to your body. If you feel a fluttering heartbeat, muscle tension, or a dull ache in your hips or joints during intimacy, that's not your body failing, it's your body speaking. Instead of pushing through discomfort, take a moment to adjust. Consider changing your position, using supports like pillows, or simply slowing down. Intimacy in your 70s or 80s isn't a race. It's a sacred, private celebration of your continued connection with yourself. Additionally, many seniors are on long-term medications for chronic conditions. Some of these, like antidepressants, blood pressure medications, or medications for diabetes, can interfere with libido, delay arousal, or even cause erectile dysfunction or vaginal dryness. These side effects are common, but they often go unspoken, especially when patients feel shy or embarrassed to bring up sexual concerns with their doctor. But here's the truth. Asking for help is a form of self-respect, not shame. Your doctor isn't there to judge you. They're there to help you live fully, and that includes supporting your sexual wellness. Discussing the side effects of your medications or asking if any dosage changes could improve your quality of life is a brave and necessary step toward holistic health. Also, it's important to recognize that intimacy doesn't need to follow the same script as it did in youth. As your body changes, so does your relationship with it. Masturbation can shift from a purely physical act to something more spiritual, emotional, or even meditative. Embrace the opportunity to reconnect with yourself in new ways without shame or outdated social taboos. In summary, while health conditions and medications may influence your sexual habits after 70, they do not have to prevent pleasure altogether. Know the risks, not to be afraid, but to be informed. Treat your body with compassion, advocate for your needs, and remember, you deserve joy no matter your age. Number 3. The surprising mental and emotional benefits. Masturbation is often discussed in purely physical terms, especially when it comes to seniors. But after decades as a health professional working closely with older adults, I can say with certainty, the mental and emotional benefits are just as profound, if not more so. When you engage in self-pleasure, your brain releases a cascade of powerful neurochemicals, oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins. These are the body's natural mood enhancers. They calm anxiety, elevate your mood, and reduce feelings of loneliness and isolation. It's no exaggeration to call them nature's antidepressants. For seniors especially, many of whom live alone or experience less physical touch, these biochemical boosts can be deeply healing. In my clinical practice, I've met countless older adults who stumbled upon an unexpected truth. Masturbation wasn't just a physical release, it was a gateway to emotional restoration. I remember one patient vividly, a widowed woman in her early 80s. After her husband of 50 years passed away, she described feeling hollow, as if her body and heart had shut down together. But as the months wore on, she grew curious. She began exploring her body again, tentatively at first. She told me, with tears in her eyes, I didn't expect it to bring me comfort, but somehow it made me feel close to myself again. It helped me grieve. That's the quiet, hidden truth so few talk about. When you lose a partner, especially one you've shared deep intimacy with, you don't just lose a companion, you lose touch, warmth, and affirmation. Reconnecting with your body, even through something as simple as self-pleasure, can help you feel grounded in yourself again. It brings back a sense of control, of identity, of worth. But let's be honest, society doesn't make this easy. Older people, particularly women, are often shamed for expressing or even acknowledging their desires. There's this toxic message floating around that past a certain age you're supposed to turn off your sexuality, that wanting to feel pleasure is embarrassing or even wrong. And I want to say this clearly, with all the conviction I can muster, that message is not just outdated, it's harmful. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel connected to your body, your emotions, and your desires at any age. Masturbation can reduce stress, improve sleep, increase confidence, and even help you process emotional pain. For many seniors, it becomes a quiet act of self-respect, an affirmation that they are still alive, still vibrant, still worthy of joy. Let's rewrite the story. Let's move from shame to celebration. Your emotional well-being matters. And if something as simple and natural as touching yourself can bring you comfort, release, and peace, then that's not just healthy, that's sacred. Number 4, masturbation as a response to loneliness. As people age, one of the most common but often unspoken challenges they face is loneliness. The quiet that once felt peaceful in youth can grow into a haunting silence in older age. Friends pass away, children move out, spouses die or drift apart, and the social circles once taken for granted shrink with time. In this growing solitude, many older adults turn to masturbation as a source of comfort, a moment of warmth in an otherwise emotionally cold environment. There is no shame in this. Masturbation is a natural and often healthy part of human sexuality, regardless of age. For many seniors, it offers not only physical pleasure, but also a brief sense of intimacy and control in a life that may feel increasingly uncertain. It can relieve tension, improve sleep, and even release mood-boosting chemicals like endorphins and oxytocin. In moderation and with self-acceptance, it is not only harmless, but beneficial. However, problems begin when masturbation becomes a substitute for meaningful emotional connection. When it is used not just for physical release, but as the only way to feel closeness, comfort, or pleasure, it can deepen the very loneliness it was meant to soothe. The cycle can be subtle. The more one retreats into private pleasure, the more social engagement feels difficult or unnecessary, and gradually a person may isolate themselves even further. This is not a call to abstain, but to find balance. Solo intimacy should complement, not replace, human connection. It's important to nurture other parts of the soul that self-pleasure cannot reach: the joy of eye contact, the energy of shared laughter, the comfort of a hand held during a walk. These are forms of intimacy that no solo act can truly replicate. Consider blending self-care with gentle social interaction. Join a Tai Chi class where touch and movement reconnect you with your body in a communal setting. A book club, dance workshop, or gardening group can give purpose to your days and build bridges to others. These activities create shared experiences, often without the pressure of deep conversations or personal disclosures, allowing connection to grow naturally. Masturbation can be a sacred moment of self-love. It can remind you that your body is still alive, still capable of joy, but do not let it become a silent wall between you and the world. Remember that while you may live alone, you were never meant to feel alone. Your heart needs more than pleasure. It needs presence, conversation, and shared humanity. As we age, our deepest need is not for perfection, but connection. Use your moments of solitude not just to comfort yourself, but also to prepare for the joy of others. When you touch yourself with love, let it be a reminder that you are still worthy of being touched, seen, and cherished by others too. Number 5. Talking about it can strengthen relationships. Even in long-term committed relationships, masturbation often remains an unspoken subject. For many older adults, especially those over 60 or 70, there's a lingering sense of shame or awkwardness tied to the topic. Yet, when approached with honesty and vulnerability, conversations around self-touch can become powerful tools for emotional connection, renewed intimacy, and even healing in relationships that may have grown distant over time. As people age, their bodies change, hormone levels shift, libido may fluctuate, and physical responses might not be as predictable as they once were. This is perfectly normal. What's not helpful is keeping these changes in the dark. When partners avoid talking about their evolving needs, they may unknowingly drift apart. But by initiating open conversations about what feels good now, what doesn't, and how self-pleasure fits into each person's experience, couples can foster mutual understanding, empathy, and trust. I've counseled couples who rediscovered each other through mutual understanding of self-touch. One woman in her 70s once confided, "It felt naughty to admit, but he was curious. And then it brought us close. She had felt nervous sharing that she still explored her body alone, fearing judgment or disapproval. But instead of recoiling, her husband responded with interest and warmth. This led to a deeper, more open dialogue about their desires, fantasies, and the changes they had both experienced silently for years. Moments like these can be transformative. Instead of avoiding or downplaying their needs, partners can use masturbation as a starting point for re-engagement, both emotionally and physically. For instance, One couple who had grown distant after a series of medical issues began reconnecting after sharing how they individually found comfort in solo touch. They realized their intimacy didn't have to look the same as it did in their youth. It could evolve, adapt, and still be meaningful, sensual, and satisfying. Moreover, these conversations often lead to the discovery that self-pleasure isn't a replacement for partnered intimacy. It's a complement. When shared in the spirit of honesty, it can reduce pressure, inspire creativity, and even reignite the spark between two people who may have felt their best romantic days were behind them. In fact, some couples begin incorporating self-touch into their shared experiences, finding it adds playfulness, freedom, and curiosity to their routine. They move away from performance-based intimacy and toward connection-based intimacy, where vulnerability, trust, and open dialogue become the most potent aphrodisiacs. For older adults navigating physical limitations or health concerns, self-touch can also be a safe, low-stress way to maintain sexual vitality. When talked about openly, it reduces misunderstandings and fosters mutual respect for each other's personal needs and preferences. At its core, the simple act of talking about masturbation with kindness, curiosity, and respect can be a gateway to deeper understanding, emotional closeness, and renewed intimacy. It reminds us that love and connection don't fade with age, they just grow wiser. Number 6, explore new techniques and tools. Aging brings change, and intimacy is no exception. One of the most empowering things older adults can do for their emotional and physical wellness is to let go of old expectations and welcome a fresh, curious approach to sensuality. Many seniors find that what worked in their 30s or 40s doesn't quite suit their 60s, 70s, or beyond. And that's perfectly okay. In fact, can be the start of an exciting, more mindful chapter. Instead of focusing on what's lost, focus on what can be gained. This might mean experimenting with new lubricants, positions that accommodate limited mobility, or sex toys thoughtfully designed for aging bodies. For example, water-based lubricants are often recommended by doctors because they're gentle on sensitive skin and compatible with most materials, reducing friction and enhancing comfort during intimacy. For those dealing with arthritis or other physical limitations, ergonomic toys and supports can make all the difference. There are pillows specifically designed to aid in positioning, and toys with easy grip handles or remote controls that don't strain the hands or wrists. These tools are not indulgences, they are gateways to pleasure, healing, and connection. Incorporating simple elements like soft lighting, calming music, and soothing scents can help create a relaxed, inviting atmosphere. These sensory details may seem small, but they help older adults reconnect with their bodies in a more holistic way. Intimacy, after all, isn't just about the act. It's about feeling safe, seen, and cherished. Take Margaret, for instance. At 75, she told me something beautiful. "I lit a candle for the first time," she said. "It changed everything. I felt sacred, not silly." That one small gesture, something as simple as lighting a candle, helped her shift from feeling self-conscious to feeling celebrated. It turned a moment of vulnerability into a moment of grace. Exploring new tools and techniques also offers an opportunity to redefine what intimacy means. It's not just about performance or climax, it's about tenderness, exploration, and emotional connection. It's about being present, not perfect. Older adults often report that once the pressure to perform fades, there's a deeper appreciation for the journey, the touch, the eye contact, the laughter. Doctors often emphasize that communication is as important as technique. Trying something new can be scary, but it's also a chance to build trust. Talk openly with your partner, or even journal your own desires and curiosities if you're rediscovering solo intimacy. Whether alone or with someone, this season of life can be a time of great sensual awakening. So let go of what used to be and lean into what could be. Aging doesn't mean the end of desire, it just invites you to explore it differently. And in that exploration, many find a kind of joy they never knew was possible. Number 7. Seek medical advice without shame. As we grow older, it's natural for our bodies and minds to go through changes. Some of these changes are visible and expected: grey hair, slower movement, or increased fatigue. Others, however, are more private, and because they're not openly discussed, they can be surrounded by unnecessary shame or silence. Issues related to sexual health, for example, such as decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, vaginal dryness, or even sudden feelings of anxiety or depression tied to intimacy, are very common among seniors. Yet too many people suffer in silence, believing that these concerns are too embarrassing to bring up, or that they are no longer important at their age. Nothing could be further from the truth. If something doesn't feel right, whether it's a persistent ache, numbness in certain areas, difficulty experiencing pleasure, or emotional changes related to your intimate life, please speak up. Healthcare providers are trained not only to treat illnesses, but also to listen without judgment. Your comfort, dignity, and well-being are our priorities. No question is too small, no concern too shameful. You are not alone in what you're feeling, and there are solutions available. But the first step is courage, the courage to bring it up. Here's a medical reality that needs to be said clearly and often. Sexual wellness is just as important as heart health, sleep quality, or digestive function. Our intimate health affects our self-esteem, our relationships, our sense of connection, and even our longevity. When something feels off in that area, it's often a symptom of a deeper issue. Hormonal imbalances, blood flow problems, psychological stress, or side effects from medication. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away, but addressing it, that can transform your quality of life. Many seniors have been conditioned to think that intimacy is a young person's game, or that they should quietly accept discomfort as part of aging. But that's an outdated belief. Intimacy doesn't have an expiration date. In fact, studies have shown that healthy physical affection, connection, and even sexual expression in later life can boost immune function, reduce depression, improve sleep, and strengthen relationships. If those benefits came in the form of a pill, we'd all be taking it. So please, talk to your doctor. Mention that you've noticed a change. Ask whether what you're experiencing is normal and what can be done about it. You might be surprised by how many resources, treatments, and therapies are available today, from hormone therapies and medications to counseling and lifestyle changes. Don't let fear or embarrassment silence you. Seeking help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a declaration that your health matters and that you believe your life at every age is still worth living fully. Number 8, embrace your sexuality without apology. Sexuality is not a young person's game. It never was. That's one of the greatest myths society has sold us, that pleasure, sensuality, and intimacy have an expiration date. But the truth is, sexuality is a lifelong expression of your identity, your spirit, and your joy. It evolves as you do, becoming richer, more soulful, and more honest with age. Your body may change, your energy may ebb and flow, but your capacity for love, connection, and pleasure remains and can even deepen. I once asked a 92-year-old retired librarian what she thought about pleasure in old age. She smiled knowingly and said, "Honey, I've earned every moan." That stayed with me. There was no shame in her voice, no apology, just the quiet confidence of a woman who had lived fully, loved freely, and honoured the desires that continued to stir in her even as her hair turned silver and her steps slowed. So many people shrink themselves as they age, believing they must dim their sensuality to be taken seriously or respected. But in truth, the opposite is often true. When you embrace your sexuality, not in defiance, but in acceptance, you reclaim a part of yourself that the world tries to quiet down. You send a powerful message to others and to your own heart. I am still here. I still feel. I still deserve pleasure and intimacy on my own terms. Aging is not the end of desire. It is, in fact, the beginning of deeper self-love, the kind not rooted in performance, but in presence. It's not about trying to impress or achieve. It's about being fully in your skin, knowing who you are, and finding joy in simple touch, in emotional connection, in moments that matter. It could be a late-night laugh with your partner, the brush of a hand on your back, the warmth of being truly seen. These are all expressions of intimacy that hold as much, if not more, that beauty than the youthful fireworks of years past. Let go of shame. Let go of outdated narratives. You don't need to apologize for your body, your cravings, or your curiosity. Whether you are single or in a relationship, your sexuality belongs to you. It is not something you outgrow, it's something you grow into. And if you felt disconnected for a while, know this: it's never too late to begin again, to rediscover what feels good, to have a conversation, to light a candle, to wear that silk robe, to touch and be touched with tenderness, respect, and joy. There is sacredness in this stage of life. Let your sensuality be part of that sacred expression. You have nothing to prove, only something to embrace, without apology. Aging doesn't take your right to pleasure away. In fact, it gives you the space and wisdom to redefine what it truly means. The body may change, but the capacity for intimacy, both with others and with yourself, remains a deeply human experience. Whether you're single, widowed, or in a long-term relationship, discovering or rediscovering self-pleasure in your 70s and beyond is not something to be ashamed of. It's a powerful, life-affirming act of self-love and self-connection. These years invite us to move beyond outdated taboos and societal expectations. Let your journey be guided not by shame, but by curiosity, not by fear, but by compassion. You are not broken, and you are never too old to feel joy in your body. Every wrinkle, every line, every scar has a story, and your story continues. You are not alone. You are not invisible. You are beautifully, wonderfully human. If this message touched something deep within you, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if it offered you something to reflect on. And don't forget to subscribe to Golden Years Balance for more heartfelt wisdom on aging with grace, courage, and joy. Let's break the silence and rewrite the narrative together.